So 6.2 is just around the corner, and where does that leave Retribution? Well, since the start of PTR, they've completely changed the way the Legendary Ring works. They've completely changed the way our set bonuses work. They have buffed our trinkets, nerfed our trinkets, buffed our trinkets again, nerfed our trinkets again, buffed them again. First thing to note is when 6.2 goes live, we're still using the same tier 17 gear, tier 17 talents that we've been used to. So what really changes? Well, we are slightly weaker because we have the mastery nerf. The first thing to do will be to know which gears we need to get ASAP. That will revolve around tier set and 2 trinkets in particular. Now, the 2 trinkets we need first of all are Discordant Chorus and, most importantly of all, Empty Drinking Horn. This is the be-all and end-all for us. It completely is, and it changes everything. People who have been using this late on, so it's very up to date in the PTR, have been showing logs where the Hellfire effect of this trinket is doing about 1/4 of our damage. That's more than our Hand of Light. It is absolutely the trinket we need. All strength users will want it. You are in direct competition with all of the strength users. We do get the most benefit from it, but of course it depends on how your guild distributes it as to whether you'd be more favoured for it or not. But you must get it. You must coin the bosses that drop it. It doesn't even matter what mode it's on. The normal mode version of this trinket is better than any other trinket you can get, even mythic. It really doesn't matter. Get this trinket. When you do get this trinket, or even Discordant Chorus, which is our second choice. Now, Discordant Chorus is the Fell Cleave trinket. Now you might think, okay, well that's our cleave choice, as it is for the other strength users. They also want it as their cleave choice. Well, we want the class trinket dealt with a single target. No. The class trinket, as I've discussed in videos past, is so awkward to use. It simply cannot outperform the Discordant Chorus in all realistic scenarios. There are a couple of bosses where if you can sit on that boss and you're not going to do anything else, and there isn't a great deal of movement, yes, maybe the heroic Archimon trinket may come out slightly better, but I personally am not going to spend any effort at all getting it. Discordant Chorus is the way to go. Now the thing is with these 2 trinkets, Discordant Chorus and Empty Drinking Horn, is they do not benefit from your mastery at all. Mastery is currently our best stat. We gem mastery, we use mastery food, we use mastery enchants. As soon as we've got either of these trinkets, and especially when we've got both, mastery no longer becomes our best stat. In fact, according to the latest sims from Sol Sacra, the main Ret Theory crafter, it is our worst stat. Mastery basically becomes our worst stat. The stat we need to gem for and enchant for and get food for is multi-strike, because this does, in fact all the other stats really benefit, but multi-strike and haste especially will increase the damage we're going to do from these trinkets. So it's really important to be aware of that stat change as soon as we get either of these trinkets. These trinkets are everything. They're more important than our set bonuses, even tier. You've got to prioritize coining on the bosses that drop these things. As I say, in the first week I would aim to coin on those 2 trinket bosses, which is Fell Lord from memory and Manaroth on heroic mode, and then when I do a normal road run I will also coin the one that drops Empty Drinking Horn, and I'm not going to guess, I forget which of the 2 that is now. Really important you coin those bosses, okay? Don't worry about tier. That will come anyway. I mean, you know, tier comes in a few weeks anyway, at worst. So when it comes to tier, both of our set bonuses are very useful. When you get 2 set, it is absolutely worth swapping out your 4 set tier 17 for it. Go 2 and 2. The 2 set is very good. It gives us 2 extra charges of Avenging Wrath. That gives us the possibility of not having to save up Avenging Wrath for an important phase. So let's say there's an important burn phase coming up, for example Gorefiend, where he does his Ritual of Souls, big DPS phase. He takes 100% extra damage. We don't have to save up our Avenging Wrath for that, we just have to save up our charges for that. So you use your charges, then you could even use both of them, because it lasts a minute, that, assuming everything goes well. It gives you so much flexibility. The only thing I would say on it is it also gives you a bit of a responsibility to know the fight, know the timings of the fight. Plan in advance when you need to be using your Avenging Wrath, because the worst thing that can happen is you get to the end of the fight and you thought, oh, well, there weren't any phases really to use that, and you've got at least one of your charges left over at the end. That would be very bad. Don't do that. If there are any particular parts of the fight where you have to burn it straight away, then try and line it up with your execution sentence, especially from the 4-set bonus. The 4-set bonus gives you a stacking damage buff for the first 10 seconds of Avenging Wrath. Every second you get now an extra 5% damage. So by the time the 10th stack comes along, you've got 50% extra damage. But it only lasts for that 10th stack. It doesn't stay any longer. You really need to fire off your execution sentence and then immediately fire off your Avenging Wrath, so that the 10th stack of an execution sentence, which of course does the main damage, coincides with that 10th stack of the damage buff for an extra 50% extra damage. Of course, you must make sure execution sentence is fired off before you hit your Avenging Wrath. It is better that that 10th stack of execution sentence hits the 9th stack of your 4-set bonus than misses the 10th stack and ends up getting no bonus damage from it at all. That would be horrendous. But in terms of the set bonuses, we absolutely want to get them as soon as possible. We share Conqueror with Shadow Priests and Warlocks for DPS. Warlocks are probably going to get dibs on it. You know, I'm certainly arguing in our guild that our Warlock gets dibs on it. Let's be fair. But other than that, we're in a good shape. I mean, you know, Shadow Priests also get decent benefit from it as well. We, as soon as we get our 2-set even, we move away from the traditional Final Verdict and Divine Purpose. I'm not going to be sorry to move away from Divine Purpose. I'm not keen on losing Final Verdict, not because I particularly like Final Verdict, just because it's the least annoying of the 3. But at least it's not going to be moving to Empowered Seals in most cases, as it looks like it would be for a time. The go-to talent is going to be Seraphim. Seraphim and Sanctified Wrath in most cases. Use a bit of common sense. Unlike in Tier 17, we're not going to always use the same talent combination on every single fight. But we are mostly going to be using Seraphim and Sanctified Wrath because that suits our set bonuses. And yeah, the other thing I'll point out just as a last little thing, because I think that really covers everything. Everything else is very much the same. We haven't had massive changes to our class. In fact, we've had nothing other than a mastery nerf. It's just we're going to be using different talents and different set bonuses and different trinkets. With Discordant Chorus, the Fell Cleave trinket, just be a little aware. There are times, you know this, where, you know, an enemy does a cleave effect. You need to move out of the way of it. Try and be careful as you're sidestepping from it, because remember, your Discordant Chorus does a cleave of its own, and if you simply sidestep a mob, there is a chance that that cleave will fire off and then miss and not hit anything. So as you sidestep, try and rotate around it, so you're always facing enemies, and always try and face as many enemies as you can for when this thing goes off. Remember, it's not an AoE effect as such. It doesn't go all the way around you. It's purely a cleave, so always be facing as many mobs as you can when you're fighting with this thing, while still maintaining your priority targets. Of course, that is most important. Okay, but I think that's it for 6.2 Retribution. You should be ready to go with that. I'm hopefully ready to go with that. Of course, they could change anything at the last minute. They could change everything after the first week, just before we go into Mythic. But for now, that's how we're looking.